Good afternoon, and welcome to session 3 of the Foundation. In our last session, our heroes went out and explored a situation that was unfurling before them. They had been attacked by a group of bandits, and went out in search of them. The party gathering, they were able to capture 2 individuals, and these individuals were brought back to the hamlet of Kingsgift in order to be interrogated and possibly face the king's justice. Now, these individuals were able to give up a fair bit of information. The players learned that the head of this organization, called the Bronze Fang Crew, was headed up by an individual named Xander Notley, who appears to be an ex-soldier, as many of them were ex-soldiers, who had basically deserted after the battle and decided to make their own fortunes, robbing merchants and whatnot. After they had found out about that, they also discovered that Xander is not working alone. He seems to be supplied with both information and possibly money, or to be funded by an individual out of Forgemont, known simply as the Perfumed Man. After discovering this, they decided to keep them locked away in the basement of the inn, in the cellar, and decided to explore other pursuits. They had learned that the Elves were sending a delegation. Whether or not it was a peaceful delegation or an actual violent one is a little bit unknown. Iskander found a note that said that we are coming, though not as friends. And since then have been awaiting with a sense of eagerness and dread until that moment happened. Also, Benjamin had an interesting scenario when they had finally went to rest, as they had been up for quite some time. Found a strange pendant in his bed, and it turns out it is from an organization, a shadowy one, that has quite a heavy reputation, one known as the Truth Finders. And also being left a very cryptic note after that. Then the session ended there. Now, between this, the last session and this session, a week has gone by. More individuals have started coming to Kingsgift, and another tradesperson, another specialty tradesperson, a cooper by the name of Tessa, has arrived and has already set up a shop and begun making barrels in order to provide for herself and for her family. Also, they had built a watchtower just north along the road leading up to Forgemont, and has stationed a guardsman there to keep watch for any individuals coming south towards them. Other than that, things have been fairly good. The Baron Albara had responded to a letter that Iskandar had sent, and had said that he was very happy that Iskandar and his group had created a toll between the 2 bridges leading towards the barony, and have begun collecting money from there. This may or may not upset any of the local citizens on either side of both East Shore and in the Viscounty of Trace, their 2 neighbors. We'll have to see what develops there. Pretty sure it's not good, but we'll see. So from there, we shall now begin the 3rd session of the Foundation. Thankmar, you were standing on a cliff, a high bluff, seemingly a massive wall of mountain flanks all around. You're not familiar with this place, but before you, on the ground below, you see a massive city, a metropolis, and many people scurrying around like ants, kind of doing, just going about their daily business, people speaking to each other, seemingly calm. Through the, past the walls of this rather large city, you see a great forest, but in the sky, just above and seemingly moving down towards the city, you see a huge black cloud, one of green and white lightning clashing, smashing against each other, and just the sounds of thunder booming and echoing across the whole valley towards you. Each one a rhythmic boom, seemingly both chaotic and with purpose.
I'm curious, so I watch. I think I'll just stand there and watch what happens. Do I know I'm dreaming?
You don't know. You're not familiar with this place. It kind of feels surreal, but at the same time, you can feel the concussive force of the thunder hitting you. You can smell like the sweetness of the mountain air, even though Kingsgift is in a lower valley. You can hear the people chattering and moving below, even though like the sounds of a city just echoing up. Still, the clashing and the explosions in this massive dark cloud slowly coming toward the city is still like ever present, ever getting closer, and yet the people are still walking around doing whatever it is that they are doing. As you are watching, you hear a voice behind you, familiar voice. Well, look at this. It appears that even my bastard Get is destined for greatness. Now, what do you think of this, boy? You recognize this sound, the sound of his voice, as your father.
But I'm not allowed to call him that, so I just say, "Fine city, my lord." Yes.
And you hear the kind of tap, tap, tap of his walking staff as he kind of walks up, and he walks up right beside you, stands right beside you, which is a bit odd because usually those of noble birth who have bastard children generally stay away from them. They keep them at much an arm's length. He stands and looks, and he points at the points off in the distance to the great cloud. And what do you make of that?
A storm is coming.
Is it a storm, or is it a choice, boy?
I don't know, like he's trying to like soft skill me or like inadvertently challenge me, but I'm not sure what the answer he's seeking is. So furrow my brow, my eyes like dart to the side, turn my neck away from him to take him out of my periphery and take in the city and see what I can discern of the meaning of the storm. Is it a choice? No, no storm. No storm is a choice. It is chaos. The choice is how we respond, I'll say.
Yeah. Boy, you were always good with your sword, but never with your brains. Every storm is a choice. Every tempest, a decision to be made. And as you look down at the city, you see people, as usually as they were walking now towards this this kind of like the city, people will just stop. And you see, you know, any conversation people are having, everyone just stops. And like as one individuals start turning and they start looking and they start raising their heads up to you on this massive promontory, and you see them, their arms kind of raised up, and this kind of low this low chant of Lord, Lord. Looks like we don't have much time. You're being fought over, you know that, boy, don't you?
By whom?
Just wait. And suddenly a massive black shape goes flying out of this storm. You've heard stories of dragons. You've even heard of great tales and even administrative reports on dragons, some measuring 40, 50, even 60 feet. But the massive shape, the huge sinuous wings that are now coming toward the city, flying out of it, has to be, the wingspan itself has to be over 200 feet long. The body, if it were stretched end to end, you can figure out by using your head that this creature must be 300 feet long. Just a mass of dragon scale, teeth, claws, and death as it goes flying towards, skidding past the city, tumbling over housing and shops and markets and industrial buildings, smashing through, flipping and thudding against the promontory that you're standing on. You could feel the reverberation like a mighty earthquake smashing up the mountains, splitting the sky with just an ear-piercing crack. It appears two gods want you. And since you have the ears of the gods, it seems that two of them wish to discuss an alliance with you. You hear more people screaming and crying down in the city below, chants of Lord, 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 becoming more desperate and more fervent. The huge black shape begins to crawl up. You see two claws just onto the promontory, and this massive black head, this huge dragon's maw dripping with this acrid, vinegary smell of acid dribbling down its chin. It kind of raises itself up and looks down at you. The teeth are like pikes, even more so, 8 feet long. These massive teeth just sticking out of this maw that could swallow an owl bear whole and still have room for another 50 people. It kind of raises itself up, its elongated neck reaching down and staring at you. You see, as a blazing emblem in black fire across its light gray chest, a symbol, a three-pointed claw downward, pointing downward, blazoned upon its chest. It stares at you with these green eyes, these slitted green eyes, and it moves its neck to one side and it reveals a saddle, a throne made of broken and twisted weapons, like stretched out into a throne almost. Will you take the conqueror's way? And suddenly another huge shape reaches up beside it and grabs it by the neck, pushing it to the ground. You see it is a titan of immense size, a huge tattoo emblazoned across its chest over onto its heart. It is a shining ethereal symbol of a fist, a mailed fist holding a sword with a massive lightning bolt as a hilt across it. It stares at you downward, hefting the dragon's neck in one hand and a huge, massive maul that is lightning bolts that kind of point out into the peen. Or will you choose strength and honor? And again, still in the background, you hear this, Lord, 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 Lord.
In response to him, I'll simply say, I was always good with a sword, but never with my head.
And you see that your father, or at least this version of your father, is beginning to say something, and it just seems he joins the chants of the people. Lord, 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 come on, Lord. And you feel this kind of shaking, kind of startling you up. You're in bed, and you see Edmund is kind of like shaking you awake. Lord, Lord, you awake?
I was dreaming of a redhead beauty from Trace. What is it?
Aren't they all, Lord? Sorry to wake you, Lord, but you were saying stuff in your sleep, and well, you needed down at the inn.
What was I saying?
Don't know, Lord. Something about a choice. Maybe it was between two redheads. It's not my way to say.
That's right, there were two. I'll lie and give him like a smile and like shift the conversation. Tell him to pass me a cloak and I'll begin getting ready.
And he does. He goes and he kind of hands you the cloak, and he's still got a bit of a wry grin on his face. I'll leave you to it, Lord. We'll see you down in a bit. And he exits. And we go now to the tavern. For the rest of you, the other four of you, you're seated around one of the tables in the inn. Below or at the table is kind of a selection of a few eggs, some bacon, and just a few kind of like fried potatoes cooked over a hearth. Whatever you're drinking, whether it be water or ale or wine, whatnot have you, is kind of laid out in front of you, and you're just enjoying a bit of a breakfast. You guys have all heard, at least the other three of you had heard, that there was a delegation from the watchtower that you built. It was a delegation that was slowly making their way down. It appears to be 5 individuals, three on horseback, flanked by what looks to be 2 armed troops. The armor appears to be elven, weapons appear to be elven, and they said they would be probably here within the hour.
This guy would be like eating his very sparse breakfast. He doesn't eat much, and what he does eat, he tries to eat healthily and vegetarian. And so he would be like picking at some berries and some nuts, just trying to acclimatize himself to the day, I guess, and just listening carefully to what's going on around him.
Benjamin is just very carefully slicing a boiled egg and taking each slice and kind of delicately placing it in his mouth at the tip of his dagger, and looks up. So I assume you'll be the one talking to them since they're your kind of people.
Well, they will be able to speak your crude language, I imagine. And there's like a grin on his
And
face.
Benjamin shoots back in Elvish. You'd be surprised what I've learned around the world.
Well, there you go then. I believe you to be more suited to this kind of task. I'll certainly make introductions.
Very well.
Leopold, who has just been sitting there not eating at all, just drinking some watered down ale, hearing that bit of conversation, he would just say, it probably is wiser that one of us speak to these elves. I don't think they would think kindly on. And I mean no disrespect, Isklander, but a traitor, at least in their eyes.
He just like carefully like picks up a particularly juicy berry and doesn't say anything.
Talroth has been sitting quietly himself. He had already arisen earlier and had his breakfast and taken in a patrol of things. So as the news comes that the delegation is arriving, he will give a nod to Iskandar, and then he will slide his chair out. His eyes narrowing slightly, glancing to Sir Leopold at his comment as he moves out to the door and begins making preparations. He wants to send out a couple scouts to see if there's another force of elves waiting nearby or not.
Okay. So you, speaking lowly to one of them, you send about just a couple of kind of fast-moving scouts towards, I guess, what probably would be the east around the Merchants Guild, towards kind of that area. A few of them go out and they come back probably about a good 10-15 minutes later, letting you know that, you know, there's no one. It's just the five. They haven't seen anyone. Although they did get a bit of a startle when one of the trees started talking to them for absolutely no reason. And for those who are watching, wondering what the hell that was, Iskandar cast a spell on one of the trees. There's a copse of trees kind of near to the Merchants Guild, and he cast a spell. I can't remember what spell it was called.
Magic Mouth.
Magic Mouth, right. So when someone goes near there, it just says, hey. So kind of like loud enough that people would kind of can kind of hear that. So a bit of a trap, but not a trap. So other than that, they didn't see anyone in particular. The watchtower, individuals in the watchtower, just go and watch, as they do, the delegation pass by, and a runner kind of comes up to you guys in the inn and says, Lord, they're 10 minutes away. Just let you know. And then she turns around and leaves. By this time, Thankmar, you've probably gotten ready and have gone down to breakfast with the others.
Yeah, I'll take some of those juicy berries. And just like nervously eat to busy myself, to calm my nerves, going over my head what I'll say or won't say.
I think we should have some sort of an idea of how many concessions we're willing to make to this delegation. before we blindly start negotiating without any idea of what it is we're going to be demanding and conceding.
Leopold would nod. Yes, we should certainly decide what are our, and he pauses for a second thinking about how he wants to say this, what our non-negotiables are.
Are we certain as to why they're visiting? It could be a declaration of war, who knows?
It's possible, but I'd like to go in with as open of a mind as we can. If we go in there on a war footing, we're not going to get very far.
Yes. Do you think that they would declare war again after so soon?
Possibly not, but against us, they could have us wiped off the face of this little valley before any larger lords ever even heard about it, if they wanted to.
That's just what the king wants them to do. That's why he put us here.
So we are bait then.
Insurance.
Almost certainly.
Or maybe not insurance isn't the right word, but yeah, something like that.
Leopold would kind of do this wry smile at that. Well, they'll be disappointed because I will sell many of them to my mistress before I go.
It seems to me that the forest of Notlan Halak is enormous and bountiful, and that we, if we want to succeed here, will have to take some things from that forest. Now, that is their domain. They own it. It has been their domain for longer than your people have known about fire. It is ancient beyond your or my comprehension. And so we must be very delicate in how we approach that fact. We are going to need rights for logging and for hunting and for things like that, foraging. But the forest is huge, and we can offer them things that they do not themselves make, and perhaps we can come to some sort of agreement.
This is wise indeed, Isklander. Certainly we can come to some sort of terms. Maybe learning how to take from the forest not more than what we need. I know our kin are known to rape and pillage a land.
This is likely the concern that the elves have, that we are going to begin deforesting and ruining this valley, taking everything that we want and leaving nothing behind. Nothing will grow. Now, that is not my intent, and I do not believe that it is your intent, but is the natural circumstance when a city begins to grow. And so if we made contracts and assurances that is not to happen, perhaps they would look upon us in a new light.
I think this is a wise idea. I believe it is good to make it clear to them and communicate our desire to create a long-lasting settlement that is able to sustain itself. So I think that if we go in there with the right attitude, we might be able to get something real out of this.
We could certainly do worse than having some elven craftsmen in our village as well, if there was a way to incentivize them above other citizens. Well, their crafting ability is... And he doesn't say anything else. He doesn't want to embarrass the humans, but they know what he's saying.
Yeah. Leopold would look at you with a new found respect, thinking to himself that this is not some simple elf. He's sharp of wit. So definitely keep him close.
No, you are right in saying that they probably have a certain distaste for myself and Talrath. However, our lives are long, and grudges, even long kept, will fade with time.
Even though evils were done on both sides in the war, I would think that if they expect us to overlook the things they have done, that we would ask the same of them. Would we not? You did what you felt was right. And your man, he did right by standing beside you. certainly they can forgive that.
It's more complicated than that. I have a skill set that is very precious to my people. I am one of very few who knows this art. And it is inherent in our culture, this Song of the Blade. And well, it's complicated. Don't tie your simian brain ring about it, but it's complicated.
Kind of scoffs at that, not knowing if Iskander is actually just jibing him or actually insulting him, but he chooses to say that it's just a playful joke, a jibe, rather than an insult.
And at that moment, the door to the inn flies open, and Veritas Quinn, one of your guards, comes in. Hello, Lord. They're here. What you be wanting us to do?
Just
Well,
look impressive.
Oh, yeah.
perhaps we should invite them in and serve them, show them some hospitality. Never want to be thought of as a rude host.
Certainly. But we should meet them outside, I think.
Yes.
So I'm going to begin muttering words in my breath. I'm going to cast Detect Thoughts.
And I was going to start actually very quietly muttering words and cast Mage Armor on myself just as a precautionary.
Probably not terrible ideas. So Veritas kind of leads outside and walks. And you see in between the kind of somewhat hastily built walls around the inn, you see standing kind of in front of that door, you see 3 elves on horseback, 2 of which you recognize, 1 you do not. The 2 you recognize is one of them clad in kind of in mithril chain, and this mithril chain is kind of interwoven with kind of a leaf design and motif. You see, excuse me, the chief of the Toron clan, Reese Toron. He stares at you with a gaze that could wither the hardiest plant. And beside, also on horseback, you see a young woman, at least in an elf, to elven years. She appears young. She is dressed in what looks to be kind of a robes, but like padded robes. She wears kind of like a crown, kind of a wreath of various different plants and thorn bushes intermixed with flowers. She carries a staff, and it is a staff that is kind of gnarled oak that kind of twists among itself, but it's also wrapped with another type of wood that is kind of twisted up, and in it is it looks like a carved cockatrice's claw holding what appears to be a piece of amber inside of it. Oh, sorry, Dennis, you have a question?
Yeah, quick question, because I'm assuming that even though we didn't know the exact time, we were expecting at some point this delegation to come. So I would imagine that I would have had time to make some preparations. My question is, first of all, is and my character would know this, I'm not necessarily familiar with it, with our culture, would it be a sign of respect to have a show of force, or would it be better to not have a show of force when they arrive? What would...
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. So within the culture of the 6 clans of the Elven kingdom, while it is still honorable to like kind of a very much a warrior culture of strength, honor, and while showing weapons isn't necessarily, you know, a an offense or an affront. It's the act of drawing steel or drawing weapons that is very purposeful. While individuals who can wear armor generally will, because I mean, it's still not it's not a safe world. I mean, you know, there's a whole monster manual out there with things that really want to kill you. You know, that like wearing the armor isn't necessarily bad. Having weapons at your side isn't necessarily bad, but you know, the act of drawing a weapon is considered very purposeful. And
yeah, I wasn't necessarily about that, but I'm basically like deciding between like having basically like all the guards, you know, go like to the outside to keep watch, or if like a show of force should be more respectful, have everybody present and like lined up, and maybe even like find some fillers, like, you know, some able-bodied men that aren't necessarily warriors, but we could throw some armor and weapons on just to, you know, or if it doesn't make a difference, then, you know.
It doesn't necessarily make a difference. I mean, you have guardsmen patrolling, like guardsmen are patrolling the like the town, for lack of a better term, anyway, just to kind of as like so, some
yeah,
type of a constabulary.
A difference and just do status quo, other than I would have extra patrols on the outside just in case, you know, they had a force waiting to come in. But other than that, just the regular patrols.
No worries. Yeah. So I mean, basically, yeah, it's very cut and dry. There's not you know, there's not a ton of individuals. There's just a group, and there's only 5 individuals, and you can tell that, you know, as a clan chief who is going to, you know, visit an obviously a hostile environment, then obviously he's going to, you know, he or she is going to bring a retinue of individuals as both protection and kind of a just in case. But this individual, this young woman beside Iskandar and Talrath, you know her, you have met her. And her name is Leah Shundell. She is a druid and a friend of yours, and however, a friend between the two of you is entirely up to you. Do you remember Iskandar, who she was?
Yes, she is a cousin of mine. She was involved heavily with the sort of harvest, the druidic sort of practices, and worked closely with the Song of the Blade, those various warriors. And so I would have known her a long time. We would have worked together for at least 100 years. So I would know her quite a long time. We would have been close friends, but that obviously fell apart when I left.
And as the 5 of you walk out, and I assume you'll probably all stand abreast.
I'll give a greeting before they can do anything. I would like touch my the fingers of my right hand to my forehead and then to my chin, and I would say "Melovanen el sira edenle agovanen vin," which is "A star shines upon our meeting." It's a very formal sort of address.
They look both, while the 2 guards on foot don't say anything, they just kind of stand ahead, holding aloft their spears and their shields. Both Reese and Leah look at each other, like kind of sideways glances, and they look back at you, and Leah says, "Why would you greet us in a language you've turned your back on, Thaltor?"
I have not turned my back on the language, nor on my people, nor on our traditions.
You did. You did when your blade sunk deep. You did when you killed our people. You did when you felled our king.
The tree does not hold a grudge against the animals that live inside it, nor does the river hate the town for diverting it, nor does the crop.
You ever quote Druidic to me. The fact that we are here is only because our king instructed it so. Your old king, a king that you swore your life on, the king that you unhorsed, the king that you embarrassed.
The king that we defeated in battle, and if he has bid you come here, then please be loyal subjects and do as he asks and enjoy our hospitality. And I'll turn to my side and gesture for them to come into the inn as this introduction is fastly descending into shit slinging.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
So I have cast detect thoughts, Mike, before we came out here, and I would just like to read. It's just the surface thoughts, so whatever's forefront in their mind. It's probably fucking Iskander, but I just want to make sure, like, that there's no, so whatever their most is foremost in their mind, I can get a reading of.
Sure. Do.
So there's no save for that. The surface thoughts are. If I wanted to probe deeper, then I'd make a save. But surface thoughts are.
Sure. So the guards. So for as far as the surface thoughts, the two guards are like you kind of feel an emotion, which is just basically like concern. They just, like that concern of, I really don't want to have to use this spear. And I don't want to start shit. So let's just carry on. From Reese, you just feel a sense of both anger, but disappointment. You just feel this very heavy disappointment on him. From Leah, you get the inclination of more concern, but you get the kind of feeling that she's concerned for themselves. Like she's concerned for her own, because she doesn't, she kind of feels like a kind of an animal that's been like backed into a corner. So it's either fight or flight kind of a thing. And that's basically the basic surface thoughts. Also, as an aside, since one of the guards is kind of like in your peripheral of this spell, from that one, you just get a sense of hunger. He's hungry. He could really use breakfast. That's pretty much about it.
Please, like he said, do come in. We have ale, wine, mead. I know it's and he's actually speaking in Elvish for all of this. He says, I know it is not up to the fine quality that you are used to, but it is all we have to humbly offer. Please do join us, and I apologize for the rough footing that we began on. We truly don't wish for this to be a contentious morning. Come, sit. And he'll lead inside.
I tell you what, let's do the first roll of the day. Make me a persuasion check.
Dang it, had all my dice out except the 20 apparently. There we go.
There we go.
All right. And oh, hell yeah, that's a good first roll. That's an 18 on the die.
Like it.
With a +5, so 23.
Damn, son. They look, and you speaking Elvish to them, kind of, you can see actually that they both stop for a moment, because they're expecting, just ignorant humans who are dicks to them, basically, and they don't expect people to understand and respect their culture. But the fact that you're speaking Elvish to them, that they stop and they look at each other, and They both, like, not even nodding. They talk to each other almost as if they, like, without even speaking. They both get off their horses and they both walk up. They brush past Iskander. Leah kind of like bumps you with her shoulder, and they just both walk in. You could tell that Leah, is definitely one who's she's not afraid to kind of rough and tumble, just like fight as well as any other soldier within the clans. But she is definitely. It's going to take a while. So as they go in, the guard who is, I'm gonna have to try and remember here, the guard who is in charge of the inn, Malser, he has been like, while you guys were talking, he has been like grabbing like a couple of tables and just kind of sticking them together in kind of like a long table, and getting chairs around. He doesn't really know how many, so he throws like chairs around the whole thing, and kind of he's working out to like get like some some nuts and some like little berries and fruits and other food kind of together, and kind of gets a couple of pitchers of water, a couple of pitchers of wine, one pitcher of ale, and kind of goes like puts glass, sets everything up, and then kind of rushes back and is now like cleaning the same glass so much that you feel like he's just gonna like erode it away with a towel.
I think that will be enough, Malsa. Thank you. Could you prepare perhaps a cheese plate, find some berries, maybe make yourself scarce for a little while?
Well, I mean, Lord, if you need me, I could. I need to clean or something.
Stay within earshot. We'll holler if we need you.
Yes, Lord. And he takes off kind of just out in the back, and now I guess like everyone kind of comes in. The elves, the three of them, the one you don't know, comes in, and they sit at one end, and I assume that you would either sit at the other, or would you guys sit close?
I would actually sit close to them. I want to try to make it seem like we're not like on two sides of this thing. So I'm just kind of sitting, near them, being fairly open. I would like to introduce myself. My name, and he's still doing this all in Elvish. And then he kind of catches himself for a moment. And out of character, do any of the other players not speak Elvish? Okay, that's what I thought. So he says, my name is Benjamin Dupont, and if I may humbly request, would you mind if we had this discussion in common, as some of my associates are not as exposed to culture as the rest of us?
They nod.
And so after that, he'll kind of point next to him and says, my associates, I will allow them to introduce themselves.
Leopold would clear his throat and say, I'm Sir Leopold Brom, servant of the Dark Goddess, the voice in the void, the mercy bringer. And he would kind of nod to them, or he would bow, like not a deep bow, but a bow of respect to them. And he wouldn't have sat. He would wait till they took a seat before he took a seat.
Thankmar will introduce himself curtly to the elves. He figures they already know exactly who we all are.
Some, like they know of you, but they don't know you like actually personally. And then as soon as Thankmar, as soon as you finish introducing yourself, they sit because they know who both the Skander and Talrath are. So they sit, and a couple of them, grab a berry or two, have some nuts. Leah looks around at the table. Our king has sent me to treat with the 5 of you, and as such, bring our demands to whoever your superiors are.
Very well. Well, we represent the Council of Kingsgift, and we do have the ability to treat. What is it you want to achieve out of this meeting? We're all ears. We'd just like to hear entirely what you would like, and then we'll have a civil discussion, and we'll figure out how to make this work for both of us.
Fine. If we are to be subjects, as you have said, who do we report to? Who are we to kneel to?
Leopold would speak up. He would say, forgive me if I'm confused by the question. Your king bent a knee to ours. Would be subjects of the king.
Fine. Then if we want something or if we need something, then who is it that we speak to? We cannot simply go to the king.
Us.
We are his representatives in the region.
The closest representatives of the king.
Fine. We have other demands.
Requests.
Demands.
I love it. Let's hear them. And Leopold would just kind of level a look at Iskander. I'm struggling with your name, Lloyd. Sorry. And the look would sort of say, let's tread carefully until we hear what they say. Like just kind of easy.
Wording is everything. Thankmar gives like an approving look to Iskander. He likes the choice of words and knows that there's not like no flippancy to it. And does not think that we should bend meaning and law just to make the elves feel more comfortable at these negotiations. So there'd be like a little cold throwdown from Thankmar to Leopold.
This doesn't need to be unpleasant. It doesn't need to be. But you, Leah, are vastly intelligent and you understand the situation that you are in. That fealty has been sworn to under the king. And so wording and law is important in this situation. Now, we are extremely open to listening to any ideas that you may have. But to phrase it as a demand is incorrect and unlawful. You cannot make demands of the king.
And almost to punctuate that point, Leopold would say, none of the king's subjects can.
Fine. We request the ability to trade with the Duchy of Eastwood again. At first, they wouldn't allow us to. Even now, they wouldn't allow us to. But we want that right again.
What were you trading with them? What were your primary exports? I think I may have another suggestion or solution to your problem, because this outpost is going to need supplies. I think we may be able to eventually take over any amount that you were able to trade.
We traded food, weapons. We traded cloth, sometimes mithril when we needed the money. We are being choked out.
Benjamin just shoots a quick look over to both of his companion elves when the guy says mithril.
Thankmar will give you a glaring look that says, "Don't let them know what we want." That away.
Like, shut up, man!
Iskander actually kind of stifles a yawn when she mentions mithril. Like it's no big deal.
It was more of like a questioning look. He's kind of heard of it, but he's not really sure how important it is. But he's just like,
yeah,
okay.
Sometimes we would trade wood. The Duchy of Eastwood has very few forests. We would find trees that have died and cut what we needed from it, create cords of wood for them.
And what were they supplying you in return?
They would supply us with food that we would not grow or would not rear here in Notlan Halak. We would hunt sometimes, but they helped us. They would give us certain weapons that we didn't have. They would also give us protection. There's a force in Eastwood that protects the easternmost section of Notlan and Halak. We are getting smaller and smaller, and we just want to be able to trade with them again.
Interesting. Well, all of the things that you provide to the Duchy of Eastwood are things that we require here at this settlement. Now, we cannot speak for the Duchy of Eastwood, but we can speak for ourselves. And we can certainly say that we will give you better rates than they were able to, if you were to trade with us instead.
I would like to make it clear to you that there are no hard feelings here, and there's no need for there to be hard feelings here. We can forge a partnership and work together, because we're sharing this region now. That's just the way that it's going to be. But we don't want to take more than is fair for us to take. And we don't want to hurt you in any way. Let's make this work for both of us.
Can we trade the Duchy of Eastwood again? And if that is something that you can allow, then allow us to, please. If it is something that you cannot allow, then please take this to whoever will allow it.
We will send a letter to the Duchy.
And
when they respond, we will let you know what they say.
In the meantime, you are welcome to trade through us and use our infrastructure and our networks to get the commodities that you need. We have good standing with the counties of the kingdom. And since we have been given free license to trade, we could circumvent this trouble.
Can I get another read on their surface thoughts, Mike? Because it's still active.
Sure. Okay, so from the individual that you don't know, and this individual, now seated, seems like he's kind of like the bodyguard, like the clan champion. You see that he wears favors by the kind of like the overall clan itself. They have, you know, like he does carry both an elven long sword, but he also carries both a short sword and a dagger that seems to be crafted like from humans, like a human crafted one. He has his mithril armor is kind of like medium in weight. Seems to be very thick. So he seems to be the type of individual that, you know, probably not going to be hurting anytime soon. He seems to be more a fighter than a blade singer like you are. But he is still no less extremely deadly looking. The thoughts from him are essentially like he's kind of, I'm sitting here because I care about this clan, but I'm bored as hell. And the fact that we have to treat with you know, like with the human kingdom, you know, he just seems like, you know, like he feels like the elven, like the whole like kingdom of the elves has been gelded, and he's not terribly happy. Leah is, her thoughts, like once you speak about, you know, we'll let you know if you can trade with the Duchy of Eastwood. She seems like, no, this is really important. We need to trade. We need to trade with Eastwood. We need to like make more money from them. You know, like she kind of has this very kind of, I need an answer kind of a thing. She's very, and Toron or Reese, his thoughts appear clouded. You're trying to get a read off it, but he just seems to be focused to a point where you just can't seem to penetrate what he's thinking.
Sure. Sensing that from Leah, that she like wants an answer, Iskander will say, actually, can I just ask, who is the Duke of Eastwood? Is that the guy who like had led the cavalry charge?
You got it. That's okay. The guy. Yeah, he's the guy that really not your biggest fan, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, that suits me perfectly. That's really good news. So I will say the Duke of Eastwood is a good and just man. We have met him several times. Although he's a bit of a warmonger, I must say. He has a bit of a thirst for blood. I will write to him. We are fast friends, and I will let him know that you want to trade with him again. That's all I can do. We are not dukes here. We are a council of citizens, and his word counts for more than my own. But I will write to him and entreat him to trade with you once again.
We have spoken to the Duke, and he wants to trade with us again. And he has spoken to the king. Well, at least he has written letters. But all he gets back are letters from the Baron, saying that the Baron will look into it personally, and we've not heard anything in over a week. And even with messengers, it should be faster than this, but it's not.
It seems to me there might be some sort of conspiracy to ensure that you are not allowed to trade with Eastwood. Now that would be deeply unfortunate, and we will use every piece of influence that we have to ensure that we can arrange a new trading agreement between you and Eastwood. I will speak to the Baron. He is a close friend.
And
quick out of character question.
Yep.
We did go have someone go tell the elves about the humans that were disguising themselves as elves, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
you did, and they haven't said anything. Like they don't say anything to that regard. They haven't, at least.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, but yes, you did. As a matter of fact, I believe it was Iskander who did his best Flash impersonation and booked it over and dropped a letter kind of in clan territory and then booked it right out again. But so, you know, after saying that, Iskander, she seems to kind of like lighten up a bit, and you almost see a bit of a smile on her face. after you say that. Then, well, let us move on then. Do you, and for the first time, Iskander, do you remember the 4 groves in the north?
Of course.
Near Forgemont is pushing south. They are cutting down more and more of Notlan and Halak, and they are encroaching on the sacred groves. And no matter how many times we have tried to stop them, they will not stop. We have tried everything. We've tried to scare them off. We've done what we can. But they refuse. They want more wood. And they're taking from us.
Well, that can't be allowed to pass. Go ahead, Leopold, sorry.
Yeah, so he would stop as you responded, but then when you finish, Leopold would say, well, have you tried talking with them, letting them know about these sacred groves?
We have tried, and they will not speak with us.
And you have told the king.
We have told our king, but we have no way of speaking with king in Middenheim.
Your king has not sent a letter, an emissary to the king? Beseeching him? I mean, these are holy grounds to your people. I mean, if we want to maintain this peace.
It falls on deaf ears. Our culture is not like yours. And
Perhaps a messenger from us would have some more weight or effect on those foolish people. Let's we can send someone and at least make a request on your behalf.
Is Forgemont the Baron, Mike, or is that a different person?
no, Forgemont is the capital of
yes.
the barony that you're in, and yeah, that's where he lives.
Okay. And ostensibly, we got on pretty well with the Baron. He was pretty pleased with our taxes and stuff like that, and the toll and stuff. So I think Iskander would feel confident. I'm going to write to the Baron about the trading with Eastwood, and I will beseech him to divert their lumbering to a different part of the forest. The groves are sacred, and they cannot be destroyed.
It's of vital importance. Please. And even though your detect thoughts are, whenever you will it, at this point, like, there's genuine fear. There's like a deep foreboding sense of dread when she mentions, or when she thinks about these groves being cut down or removed. You have to make sure that they are safe. Even if you have to go to the Baron yourself, please. It's important.
So I have a quick question on a character.
Yep.
So the way the things stand, like, the forests technically belong to the king, right?
Yes, and while the king, has overall control, King Willem, the actual forest itself is technically under the control of Baron Sundon, because it is in his territory. Although overall, the king is in charge of the whole thing. So, it's kind of one of those, I'm your boss, but that's in your territory, so you deal with it.
But I mean, ostensibly, they could get lumber from somewhere else in the forest and not cut down this specific bit, right? Like, there's enough of a forest that they could go around it or whatever it is.
Yes. So, even just show you here on the map. Yep. There we go. Okay. So there you see Forgemont. Yep. Pop.
Yep.
So you see that there are a couple of forests there's Nothlon and Halak. So, I mean, there are some places where they could, have forests and whatnot have you, but they choose. They're like they're cutting down the north of the Great Forest, for whatever reason or another.
So, kind of the thought I had, and I don't know. Now, if we were able to come to some kind of treaty agreement, a trade agreement with the elves, could we maybe use that to leverage influence with the king to get him to, stop the Baron from, targeting those specific areas, or would that not really do any good?
So I guess Iskander would say Nathanhalak is large and bountiful, and there are parts of the forest that are not as sacred as the groves. If perhaps you agreed to let our settlement begin taking lumber from the south, we could deliver it to Forgemont. That way they would not have to lumber the sacred parts of the forest.
We are losing land, but this actually leads to our next, and she says, request. We used to have both sides of the Vita, and you would know that there is another large but not quite as large section of forest that is kind of interconnected, because Nothlon and Halak used to be massive, and the Vita River cut it in half, basically. Since human incursion has pushed the west side of the forest back down, there's still enough sizable chunk of the river, or chunk of the forest left on the west side of the river. So Leah continues. We wish to have. We want to be able to expand again. It used to be that it would take days, even a week, to travel between where the clans settle. Now it's a matter of several hours. Our land is shrinking, and the places that we settle when we make our journey around the forest, it's getting smaller and smaller, and soon we will have nothing left. We'd like to expand west of the river again.
And the river is where our jurisdiction ends, isn't it?
Just having a look. Yeah, technically it would be in Trace. That would be where the river and the western side of the forest is located. So, I mean, that would be something that you would have to go and talk to the Viscountess of Trace to speak with, and that's what you'd know about that.
So it doesn't take detect thoughts to realize that Iskander is thinking you just lost a war like less than a month ago, and the idea of expanding is laughable and comical, and no king is going to allow you to expand. It's an insane request, but he doesn't want to say all of that, and so he says the war is recent, and
Kingsgift has native folk, has native skilled population. If the elves wish to expand, why not divert them into our burgeoning settlement? We cannot legally give them agency to go and expand their territory into any of the other pre-established viscounties, especially in the face of Lloyd just said, such recent and obvious thorough defeat. We could offer them that, but we don't really have the power to offer them any more than that, do we?
Right.
No.
Leopold would say he would finish. You'd take a sip of his ale, and then he would, as he sets his cup down, he says, "The law is clear on this matter. Your people are defeated. I will say what others are thinking in this room. You asked for us to give you authority to expand your settlements when that is just ludicrous.
Totally.
Your demands are not demands you should bring before us. They should be requests that you bring before the king. We do not have the authority to give you what you are asking for. We can speak with the Baron and hope that he will see the reason of not cutting your sacred forest, but the thought of you spreading, and he doesn't even finish his thought because he knows they know what he's going to say. He just shakes his head no.
So just out of game for just a moment, you just don't know how to play a character that isn't socially awkward, do you, Lionel?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Okay, just...
Well, I do. But here's the thing.
Sure.
One of my things is Leopold's a law follower. So what they're speaking about just kind of cuts against that grain. So he probably would normally be rather more tactful in what he said, but that just really cuts against him. What that second request that they made, it just flies in the face of what he sees through the king's law has granted these elves. It could have been much worse for them. And then they come here, like Iskander had mentioned, not even a month after their defeat, and then expecting to just expand their territories.
My associate is a strict follower of a certain code. You understand this. We have our own codes that we follow. He does not mean to be abrupt, nor does he mean to be dismissive. But he speaks truth. The war is recent. And those lands belong to other leaders. We can certainly ask them and put a request in. But I think that your priorities should be maintaining what you have of Nothlon and Halak rather than seeking for more.
At this point, Talroth will finally speak. He'd been silent up to this point, avoiding the gaze of the elf delegation. But he'll speak up and say, "It seems that you have other pressing matters, more pressing matters at this point. Perhaps we should see to the groves and your trade issue, and then we can revisit where you stand after. Making more requests along with those will only make the process that much slower. We should get those two issues dealt with first. They are the most important."
It's also very true that a long-term agreement that has been stuck to by both parties for a long time will make your resettlement a much more promising idea for those in other counties. Seeing that we're able to maintain trade and maintain good relations will go a long way to making them look upon you in a friendly way.
We are more than happy to advocate on your behalf, as long as your requests are sensible and reasonable.
And we know, Kokriatha. And she looks right at you, Iskander, when she says that. This is requests from the king. Not all of us share in this. We do have one final request. It is, Yuel, you can look into this request as you see fit. And then she stares right at you, Talrath. And you may discern what this request means as deeply as you wish. And then they all stand up. To the north, a group of orcs have made their way down from the dragon spine. They have settled into the forest, and I fear that it is only the beginning of something larger. They seem to be scouts, fairly armed, fairly armored. And if they begin to attack, they'll attack both us and the barony. Before you say that we can handle ourselves, yes, we can. So again, we say, you may look into this as you will.
Leah, let the first action of alliance and friendship between our two settlements be the destruction and banishment of these creatures. They will get the message when not one of them makes it back to their horde. Some of your warriors and some of ours will go and will destroy them.
Agreed. And then standing up, she kind of folds her hands to herself, and she makes the same symbol as you, and kind of as a kind of like completion to this talk. She pours a kind of a cup of wine and drinks. And she's about to open her mouth when, from outside of the inn, you just hear this blood-curdling shriek. One of the guardsmen come like stumbling in, almost falling over himself. Lords! Riders! Riders coming, lords! They're armed. Looks to be about 30 of them. Infantry and men on horse. And they don't look happy. And that's where we're going to take our break. And
Damn you.
So I will leave it to I'll leave it to these guys to introduce themselves, or if they want to do anything like that. I'm going to go pop a smoke, and we'll be back in when we're back, because we're not pushing. I'm not setting a time limit here. Got to go to the little heroes room. It's all good.
Seen a few.
Indeed. All right.
Yep, in a second.
All right. So hello to the people who have been watching, who have been enjoying it so far. Just had a very interesting part of diplomacy going on, and that's something that I know that these new lords are going to be having to do, which I think is quite good. Definitely like the way it all went down. I think everyone got a little bit of what they wanted. A little heavy-handed in some cases, but
I know as a player, I didn't want to like step on anyone's toes. As a character, I just wanted to jump in and like keep like trying to calm everyone down. Be like, no. I didn't want to like interrupt anybody.
everyone just chill out now.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to be. I want to be like an interrupting character.
Sometimes you got to step on each other's toes. It's all good.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you should do the talking, and then I got into a diplomacy scene, and I'm like, oh, this is my favorite part of D&D, and I'm like, oh, I can't stop talking. I'm sorry.
No, but this is good though, because see, the way I look at it is that with diplomacy can be just as effective as a blade.
Yeah.
And
so I like that Benjamin's kind of like a quiet peacemaker when he can be. Like he'll just kind of sit there quietly until it's time to come in and say something to like. I don't want. Yeah, I'm trying not to like. I always end up being like an over talkative spotlighter. So I made a persuasion-based character who's all about diplomacy, so that I can avoid that somehow. I don't know.
I know, and I don't see that being a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. That's good, because I mean, in the end of it, yeah, it's only gonna help you. There's gonna be times where you're gonna need it to either talk yourself out, not necessarily talk yourself out of a situation, but you're going to need to talk to people, because especially in as far as nobility uses, a lot of times nobility uses their words. They speak things and things get done, very much in the same vein as telling people what to do is all part of the system. There will be times when you guys are obviously going to go out as a party and you're going to fight, but until that scenario presents itself, then yeah, there's going to be like a situation where, you send guards to go do what you have to do, and maybe, like you give them instructions and whatnot. And this is where diplomacy comes into play. Or if, someone attacks, you want to parlay with them. Yeah. Having diplomacy is a good thing. Because if you can't tell them what they want to hear, or you can't offer them something that is, decent, then it's going to come to blows, and you may lose townsfolk as a result of it.
I think one of the nice things about this is Benjamin is like, because Leopold is a very forceful personality character too, but I think it's going to be nice because I think we're going to see how they can be converse of one another, where he's oftentimes speaking with a smooth, silky tongue. Leopold's probably going to use more of a direct. He's not a lord; he was a mercenary before he took the oaths of a paladin. So he lacks that sophistication that others might. But yeah, I think it'll play out in much different ways.
Yeah, no, I like that. It gives us kind of a good cop, bad cop dynamic too for some of these diplomacy moments. And also, Benjamin is just faking being sophisticated. Like he's kind of like a street kid trying to make something of himself. Yeah. So he's just like, all right, this is how I've heard the fancy people talk. Yeah, let's be fancy.
Hey, fake it till you make it, man. That's all that matters.
Very true, and. This will definitely be a situation where you might need just that. So if everyone's back, and I assume that everyone is, I will jump right in. Actually, Nico, are you back? Okay, maybe not quite yet, but. I like. I like that part of it because especially in an empire building campaign or any kind of scenario like that, you need, you need to have a way with words. You need to also, have a position. You need to take sides, and in a scenario like this where you have, like a defeated foe, but one that is, you can tell, is just being pushed and pushed and pushed. Like, it depends on the scenario and what is happening.
I can't shake the feeling, Mike, of like Native Americans in North America. That same sort of thing, as you were talking
So
about
much.
the elves.
Yep.
And I just thought, oh my gosh, we're the bad guys, kind of like giving them smaller and smaller plots of land.
It really felt that way with the groves and stuff. And then
I work at a tribe, so the whole time I'm like, I'm just thinking about like, oh man, I want to be kind of nice to them. I don't want to like make reservations exactly. Hey, let's give them some blankets.
Ouch.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Piece of the inn falls.
I don't
a
think
piece
the
of the inn
blankets are
falls.
small
Benjamin
box.
dies. No, I mean, it's like there are stories replete of in history of situations like that. Even in from a European standpoint, the Highland Scots faced the same scenario after the Battle of Culloden in 1763. I know I'm going to get that wrong, and someone's going to say, "Well, actually, no, the Battle of Culloden was this time." But
but it basically emasculated them, is what it did.
Their after they had lost, the English General William, who cares? He's a prick. Went to every town and village in the Highlands and systematically wiped out everyone, and basically tried to commit a form of genocide against the Highland Scots. Those who were of fighting age were killed immediately, and young people were rounded up and sent to the Caribbeans or other areas to be indentured servants. And like they went around basically just this guy did his best to destroy everything of the Highland Scots culture. Very much also in the same vein as Cromwell did, in the 1600s with the Roundheads, when he went to systematically wipe out the Irish people. Terrible guy, who defeated a group of people out of sheer hatred and just went to systematically destroy them. Cromwell's a dick, by the way. Throw that one English. Well, well, not all English, hashtag not all English, but Cromwell was in a special prick. So he definitely finds no love for me on this one. Okay, so now that everyone is back, the guardsman is still panting, breathing heavily on the ground, because it seems like he ran from like all the way over, and he's just breathing heavily. Lords, right. Seems to be 5 on horseback, with one lad. Seems big bastard, and 15 dismounted infantry, sword and shield, heading towards us. They seem angry. What are your orders?
Human?
Leopold would step up to him and put a steadying hand on him and say, "Did you see any colors, any markings upon them? Were they men or were they elf?"
They were dressed.
You're going to pass out, Mike?
They were dressed as elves, but they were dressed as elves. But I don't know. Didn't seem like elves. Not sure who they were.
Benjamin turns to the Elven delegation. Well, would you like to assist us in confronting the people attempting to besmirch your people's reputation in these woods?
Yeah, listening to the conversation, the three of them kind of perk up and kind of straighten up. Leah, this is not from us. I don't know what is going on. Perhaps this is... Go ahead.
As she's speaking, Talroth will step forward to Iskander, say, Artorin, we know what we discovered before. From what he says, he doesn't believe them to be elves, which means they are those we've run into before. You think it best that he pauses as he glances to the other elves and say, see our guests out of town before the others arrive.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of thinking, and he could definitely do with like this group of elves in this fight. There's 30 enemies, and our town is not ready to fight that many. In his estimation, anyway, like the guards are bumbling fools, not ready for a battle, from what he could tell. And he kind of like looks at you and he says, perhaps we will have a better opportunity, an even quicker one, an unexpectedly quick one, to cement this alliance with our elven brethren.
His eyes will flick to Leah, but then he'll nod and step back.
Leah takes her staff and kind of like bangs it on the ground, and she kind of like mumbles something very quietly in Elven, and kind of like throws her hand, like waves her hand above her head. Immediately, vines begin to like sprout from the staff and kind of curl around, and her skin begins to harden. First, it looks like her skin's just drying out, but it begins to harden up, and she kind of takes on the appearance of like rough bark all throughout her. Same with Reese and the champion. They both, their skin, their faces both turn into like, get this like hardened kind of aspect. We will fight, and we will help, and then you will help us.
So probably just as she slams her staff down, and as this is all happening, that's when Leopold has got like 6 inches of steel drawn out of his scabbard, and then he realizes what they're doing, and he puts the sword back, thinking that maybe they were betrayed, but relieved now that they are not.
You're gonna get your damn party killed, aren't you?
No. We got elves supposedly running in here. She starts casting something. Yeah, he would probably start be like, whoa, wait a second here.
Sorry, what was that thing, Bar?
Oh, I just said to Arlana, we still very well may be betrayed yet. Just because she said she'll fight with us doesn't mean we're not in in the throes of getting pumped.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So the three elves kind of get ready. Reese kind of draws his long sword. The champion pulls his long sword and his short sword. And for the first time, you hear him speak, and just in this like kind of deep voice even for an elf. He even says, "Let us cement our friendship. Let us cement this. And we will build a great friendship based upon the blood of these imposters, bastards." And he just storms out, kicks the door, even though the door opens inward. He boots the door open, snaps the thing off its hinges, and just goes like barreling out.
And you see Benjamin just kind of like, his hand reaches out and he just kind of cringes at that, like, oh, my door. Oh.
My beautiful, beautiful oaken door.
Starts to draw his sword and follow.
And are the rest of you going to be following it as well?
Yep, I'll be casting mage armor on myself as I walk out the door.
I'm going to go to the stable and like mount and armor up. I would have been dressed in my finest clothes. I'm not going to go charging against 30 men in evening clothes. So I'll be a bit late, I'd say.
That's
Plus,
fine.
there's
But
no
like,
harm in letting elves die.
wow. Wow.
Yeah. Leopold would definitely, that's a great idea. Leopold would definitely head to the stables. He is not dressed in his finest. He's a mercenary at heart, so he would have been in his chain and tabard. So he makes his way to saddle up his horse.
I'll help you if you help me.
All right, do it. Well, let's do it.
All right. So Talrath, Iskander, and Benjamin, you guys head out. You see the guardsmen kind of.
Just real quick, as we're separating, Benjamin just will yell out to the other two, like, "Try to get behind them." Just to kind of give them a little idea.
Yeah, I just give you a brisk nod to acknowledge that I heard it.
You can see some of the guardsmen as you guys get outside. You see some of the guardsmen are beginning to herd the people kind of into the kind of walled section of the inn, just getting people inside into the door and everything else. You see the champion, the elven champion, is he's got both of his swords drawn, and he's shouting something at the guards, or at the two elven guards, who now like have linked shields and kind of holding their spears aloft. You can now see coming down the road the five individuals on horseback, and right behind them the 15 infantrymen, these dismounted infantrymen, all long swords, all out, kind of rushing into kind of like a basic rectangular formation, rushing in behind. It's basically three ranks of individuals, five wide, kind of in a tight cluster, and they kind of like reach kind of one point. Basically, they're right beside the cooper, or the cooperage, and I will actually get the map kind of up for you guys, so there is no confusion. If I can find it. And you see the five individuals on horseback. You can definitely tell almost at once who the leader is. He's a very, very large individual. He's a very large individual, and he's dressed in what looks to be like black, kind of like banded mail. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find it. Oh well. He sits there like leaning back on his horse, and he's kind of grinning, but like there's no mirth in this grin. It's just a look of not hate, like hatred, but at the same time, like he's smiling because he is the wolf that is in the hen house. He's just, all he spies is like prey.
We'll see.
About how far away are they when we come outside?
They're probably approximately, I don't know, probably about 50 feet away. So these, so basically you're looking at like 20 troops. The five on horseback are directly in front of the infantry, and each individual is here. Finally, I got this right.
The guys that we have in the watchtower, are they just watchers, or would they be armed with bows?
The watchtower is empty. The individual who came running in had run from the watchtower to you to alert you of the state of the incoming troops. Can you guys? You guys can see the map, all right?
Yep.
Okay. So right now, the infantry is in a line here. The riders are right here. They're basically right in front of the barracks, and you see now this one individual kind of like trots forward on his horse. He has his long sword out, this like kind of curved yet broken and serrated blade, and he points it at the 5 of you. Which one of you is Thankma?
Thankmar's not outside. He's
know.
inside with.
He's not here.
Oh,
What do you want with him?
can I take a message? I've been told that he is to challenge me. And I've also been told that you, Rizzards, are holding 2 of my men.
Ah, you
Tara will smile at that.
must be the infamous Xander. It's a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance.
Shut up.
Now,
Typical.
there's no need to be rude.
This place is nice. I think it would be very nice if it had a new lord. Someone who's not afraid to expand. And I don't think that you, scum, are capable of leading.
I'm going to cast Hold Person on him while he's making his monologue.
Yeah, good
All right.
call. Give him the old Lloyd Collins.
Dispatch. Sure, he needs to make a wisdom save.
As soon as I see him starting to cast something, I want to move forward too and try to start doing some mold earth underneath their horses to make it difficult terrain.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I want
All
to
right,
cast
yeah.
sleep on a group of the unmounted.
So much arcade might in this group.
I know, all
Like, throw it all at them.
Oh my god, it's like Lloyd's Wizard game all over, but
Oh my God. The
All
power.
right, so first things first. So I'm gonna make a wisdom saving throw. And what's the DC I'm trying to beat?
It's going to be 14.
All right. So as he's holding the sword kind of pointed at the lot of you, suddenly he tries to draw back, but his hand seems to be locked in place, and then his whole like body begins to kind of seize up. Let go of me. And casting move earth to make it difficult terrain, I'm assuming is just like a thing that just happens.
It's a cantrip, yeah. It's a 5-foot cube, so under however many of their horses I can get. I definitely want to get his. I want to try and knock him off his horse if possible.
You could get one
Perfect,
in
I'll
a
go for
5
him
foot.
then, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you do it. The horse kind of stumbles a bit. So the horse kind of like as you move to the earth, like instead of like the horse stumbling, the horse actually just kind of like almost leaps, like does a little hop over past it, and kind of like snorts a bit as it kind of moves over to you. Casting sleep. How many hit dice? It's 6, I believe.
5d8, I think.
Yeah, 31 total hit points.
31 total hit points. Okay. And as you kind of as you move your hands about, the you see 3 of them kind of begin to stumble backwards and a couple of them stumble forwards and then just kind of sink to their knees and then kind of go forward. And the other infantrymen, like they kind of close ranks quickly, but they don't really know what to do. And then that is when, and I need both Iskandar and Talrath to make perception checks.
It's really high.
Unnatural 20.
23.
Okay, and what about you, Talrath?
20.
Okay. So both of you hear Iskandar's voice in the distance. Hey, hey, hey. And all of a sudden, you see a rain of arrows coming in from the east, and I need each one of you to make a dexterity saving throw, and then we're going to go into some initiative. Okay, so all right, so for the three of you that were there, so 22, was that for the perception? Lloyd?
22 with my dex save. For the arrows, I'm like initiative 11.
Okay, so as you see just a rain of arrows start coming down, two of your guardsmen get hit, and they go down, like two of them with each one has an arrow in his shoulder. One of them he got an arrow kind of like higher up, or lower down, kind of into his back, into his chest, and he slumps forward and hits the ground. Also for initiative, so Leah got she got a 21. So we've got Benjamin, Leah, Talrath.
If you throw them in the chat, Mike, I'll make a list up for you. Throw them all in.
That, sure, yes, please. So he's got a 12. Basically, the bad guys are got a 16 there, so that's pretty much for all the troops in total. And as far as your guardsmen, if you guys want to roll for them, you most certainly can. But I'm sure that what we can do is, as opposed to at some point, we'll just put them at the very bottom of the list, just underneath the elves. Yeah, so we can do them. We'll do them at the same as the elves themselves. So the first one up is Benjamin. You see all this unfurl before you. All of the the arrows come in, and the infantry kind of like looks like they're all beginning to charge forward. -3, of course, who are put to sleep very well thanks to Talrath.
And
Strike him now. He can't defend himself.
he is being held, right?
He's paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's
Okay, so I'm
paralyzed.
I think I'm about like 20 or 25 feet away from him, probably, right? Because like I had to get it within 30 feet to do the mold earth.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're about 25 away.
So would I have to run by anyone to get to him?
No.
Okay,
No,
perfect.
you would not,
Then, yeah.
because
So-
he came ahead, and then you've got the cavalry and the infantry behind the cavalry.
Perfect. Then that's exactly what I want to do. Then I want to run straight up to him, try to jump slash at him with with my rapier while he is paralyzed, and then I don't believe I would draw an opportunity attack from him since he's paralyzed, and so I will just use my bonus action to dash away.
Yeah, you have advantage because he's paralyzed as well.
Oh shit! Well, I don't even need the advantage because I got a nat 20 on my attack roll.
Oh man, you guys are totally on fire. Awesome.
I got a clear die that I'm going to use for everything.
You're my new favorite.
Let's see.
So paralyzed creatures automatically critically hit, and since you had advantage, you can also use your sneak attack.
Sweet.
Very true. Very true.
Remind
Like I
myself.
planned it.
Gotta remind myself what
Double
sneak attack
dice.
means. Sorry, I thought I had all this written down better.
That's
Okay,
all right.
we're third level, so 2d6. Is it so? It's double the dice.
Yeah. So
Correct.
the-
Yeah. 2D. Yeah. It'll be 2d6 plus your
Double the weapon
Plus your-
dice.
plus your dex.
No, your sneak attack doubles as well with the crit.
The sneak attack doubles.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. So it'll be
4d6. Because I believe I have
2d8 for your rapier and 4d6 for your sneak.
Sweet.
2d8 and 46.
Crush this guy.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. At this point,
Not expect to need this many dice.
it's like you're rolling a fistful of dice.
Hey.
Da-da-da-da-da.
8, 9, 17, 23. Oh my god, I rolled really well. 29. I rolled 2 6s on those 6s and an 8 on one of the 8s.
Nice. So 29. Wow. Yeah. You get him like straight into his armor at kind of a point where it looks like there's no banded mail. It's just like leather, and it just sinks like just nicely in, and it just doesn't stop until you almost hit a banded mail on like the others, like his backside.
And I kind of, right before I dash away, I whisper, like, doesn't look like you'll be taking this town over after all. And then I bolt away.
And then I bolt away.
All right, so you done get him good. The next one up is Leah. Leah, sensing the individuals coming towards, she kind of moves over to gets kind of within range of the cavalry, and she kind of like, you see her kind of reach into like behind her, and she kind of grabs a poison oak leaf and crushes it in her hand, and then just kind of like throws it, and the broken pieces of leaf turn into like these kind of like small little jets and just kind of hiss out. And she's casting poison spray. Oh god, that's painful. And you see quite a few individuals get kind of hit by it, and then begin to cough and sputter and like, oh wow, and quite a few of them begin to cough and choke. Two of them actually kind of roll off their horses, coughing and choking. They begin to like even vomit as they're like, their bodies are convulsing at this like thing, this poisoned damage. And that is Leah's turn. Next up, we have Talrath.
So the lead guy is still breathing.
He is.
Okay, so I'm going to close with him, and I'm going to cast my cantrip Green Flame Blade. So first I do an attack for 18.
You have advantage
Eight.
because he's paralyzed still.
Okay. So with advantage, yeah, that's 12. So yeah, 18 to hit.
18 hits.
Okay. So 8. He takes another 10 points of damage,
Okay.
and the green flame arcs.
Sorry, Dennis. It's also an automatic crit because he's paralyzed.
Oh, okay. So that would be. It's just another dice, right? So that'd be another 6.
Yeah.
So another 6. And the green flame around my blade arcs from him, and whoever the next closest target is takes 5 fire damage.
Okay. So as you
That'd be
hit
his
him,
horse, right? That'd be
yeah. I mean,
his horse.
technically, it could
If
be
he's
his horse.
sitting on it, no one else could be closer.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I mean,
I just don't want him escaping on it.
I don't want him taking off. Forget this guy. He's going down. He, you like the blade sinks into him, and you know his mouth is still like kind of locked in whatever he was about to say, and he just kind of still like kind of staying there. The flame kind of licks past and kind of like goes like hits his horse, and his horse kind of whinnies and kind of bucks and begins to like kind of panic. I'm
just gonna go ahead and use action surge since I have him as a nice juicy target, if that's all right.
Sure.
So that one with advantage is 22 to hit.
Hit.
Ooh, in that time, that will be 17 points of damage.
Okay.
So basically, he closes the green flame licking along his rapier as he makes 2 quick strikes against the frozen man and the flame dancing over the form of the horse.
Yeah, I'm just going to see. So the horse starts to buck and panic, and yeah, he doesn't make it, and just bucks his frozen form off, and you can see now that he falls and like gets bucked off. The horse starts panicking and taking off down the main road. Ooh, very nice. So he ends up pretty damn hurt. He's kind of on the ground, still frozen. Now it is, just double check here. Yeah. So I'm assuming that's the end of your turn because you've got everything you can.
As a free action, I'll spit on him when he falls at my feet.
Of course, insult to injury, right? All the bad guys rolled natural 20. You're all dead. No. So it is now the soldiers' turns. The cavalry is still kind of like on the ground, coughing. A lot of them. A few of them are trying to like get their horses because they, some of the horses were also hit. It was like just a big spray of poison, and she managed to get pretty much all of them. The infantry begins to kind of push ahead and begins to run up. Being 25 feet away, they manage to make it up to you guys. Their shields are interlocked, and they're running up, and they're going to start, kind of like attacking you guys. So one of them gets very close to you, Benjamin. Now I'm assuming I'm not going to assume, but you dashed what, backwards, or did you dash like just away?
No, I went back. Yeah, I went back towards the rest of the group so that I had the cover of my friends so that I could use my sneak attack more.
So you guys are all engaged to that. Also, I'm assuming that Xander needs to make what was it again? A wisdom saving throw?
At the end of his turn, he can make a wisdom saving throw. DC is 14.
No, he's still locked up. you see him trying to move to try and shake it off, but he's still locked up. The infantry now has now closed in, and they began to strike at you three. Benjamin, one strikes at you, and that will be an 18 to hit.
That will definitely hit.
Okay. And so that'll be 11 points of slashing damage as one of the swordsmen just comes around and strikes you pretty hard. Another one goes after you, Iskander, and misses. Definitely whiffs that shot. You're lucky because it was rolling. I thought it was going to be an 18, and then it just rolled onto 2. Yeah. And then another one goes to you, Talrath, and tries to strike at you. And that'll be a 19 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. And you get hit for 10 points of slashing damage. The archers that are on the far side of the hamlet begin to open up and loose another rain of arrows. So I need all of you guys to make dex saves again, including the individuals who are attacking you. Also have to make dex saves. All right, so the only one who didn't make it is you, Benjamin. So you will take 6 points of piercing damage as an arrow sinks its way into you. The soldier that attacked you, though, however, takes one in the throat and falls over dead. The other two hitting you, though, the other two of you managed to kind of stave it off with their shields. And as they kind of press forward. Excuse me. So the next up we have is Sir Leopold.
So Leopold is as quickly as possible helping Thankmar get into his armor. So he's doing a strap, and he can hear the sounds of battle down below. And so he would be feel rushed to get him into his armor. So that's what I'm doing my whole turn.
Okay. So with assisting you, Thankmar, and given that, as bad guys love to do, they love to preamble, by the end of your turn, you should have your armor donned. At least by the end of your turn, and interestingly enough, Thankmar, it is your turn. So as you're throwing together all of your armor, putting on your mail, kind of tying everything up, is there anything you'd like to do as a free action, or anything you'd like to do in general?
Nope.
All right.
Want to get up and mounted and armed as soon as possible, and then ride out.
Okay. So at the end of your turn, your armor's donned. You go rushing towards one of the horses and climb on. And we now move to Reese Artoron. He will, pulling out his sword, not really, again, hasn't really said very much this entire ordeal, like from coming in to now. He grabs his blade and goes forward to attack the individual who was attacking you, Talrath. He shouts something in Elvish, and I guess to all of you who already know it, it was just like a kind of like an expletive, like die, imposter, and just comes forward with his sword kind of over the top of you and goes to attack. Yeah, so I mean, he comes in and it sinks straight in. You actually see the sword kind of go straight over top, dig straight into this soldier's throat, and as he flicks his blade, actually splits the head straight in half, peels it up like a watermelon, and the soldier kind of like twitches a bit and just falls straight backward. And he goes and comes in to strike again. This time, striking the one that is attacking you, Iskandar. And he comes in, kind of gets around the shield and hits him. And once again, you see it kind of find purchase as it kind of digs straight in. He kind of flicks it a bit, and you just see the light go out in this other soldier's eyes. He collapses, but then again, both soldiers are replaced with two more that are kind of pressing shields against you, trying to strike at you. So this now leaves it up to you, Iskandar.
Okay. The blob of soldiers, are they all kind of still together in a blob in front of us, or or have they stayed where they were?
Yeah, they're all kind of like in front of you, kind of pressing against you and trying to just hack at you with their swords. Generally, the front rank is, and the middle and rear rank for who is left. Now that we are down to 10, it is now into 2 ranks. So the rear rank is kind of providing just like kind of stabbing out, but they're not doing it like it's mostly to push you back and try to keep you on guard so the front rank can kind of come in there and get you.
Perfect. So I'll invoke the name of an ancient red dragon that I learned a long time ago. I'll place my hands together and I'll fire burning hands in a 15-foot cone. So however many of them I can get in that cone, they all need to make dexterity saving throws. The DC is 14 for that.
All right, I'm gonna roll 3d6 twice. And you said 14?
Yes, sir. Am I only getting 2 of them, or?
No. You're getting 6 of them. I just have to roll 3d6 or 3d20 twice. Okay. There we go. Yeah. One makes it.
Okay,
One makes it. I don't believe this. I rolled 6d20 and one. Oh.
So it's going to be 13 damage to those that failed, or it's going to be 6 to the guy who makes it as fire, just like fires from my hands and spreads out.
And you see all of them just kind of blast and wreathe in flame, and a lot of them are just screaming as they hit the ground. A lot of them twitching a little bit as the fire just wrecks them. Mostly melted, kind of people paste. The one guy whose skin is severely charred and he's still screaming manages to kind of just move out of the way and just kind of get himself just a little bit hurt, a lot of bit hurt, and we'll just go from there. The 2 elves now. Sorry, I apologize. Was there anything else? Like, did you want to move or?
So I'm guessing that there's not really a problem with me moving forward now, since most of them have been like burnt or they're like dealing with their wounds, because I want to go and stand next to the Lord in case he tries to get up or do anything.
You'd have to run past the troops for another 10 feet, and then you'll see the prone figure of him lying on the ground.
Okay. So what I'll do then is, after I cast that fire, I'll take out my sword and begin my song of blades, and then I will run towards the Lord. If I have to take opportunity attacks, that's fine. I have a 19 AC now.
Yeah, you do have. You get one guy who's going to try and take a swipe at you as you go. And he actually does manage to clip you as you pass, but not for very much. So he managed to clip you. You get hit for 5 points of slashing damage as you kind of run past. He manages to get you right on the thigh, and he kind of digs in a little bit deeply, but nothing that possibly you can't handle.
Yeah, I'm still.
Yeah, and you managed to get past the group and towards Xander and Talrath. Pardon. So next up, we have the elves. The two elves who are standing kind of off to the side as this happens. Their shields are raised up, and their long spears, these like kind of wavy bladed spears. They're kind of like locked in. Their shields are like heavy up, and they're these like kind of very long kite shields that seem to interlock. One is holding one in kind of the Saturn fashion. The other one is holding it what seems to be upside down. But when they lock into their shields together, it not only provides a perfect kind of like geometric fit, but it also provides something for their shield, for their spears to kind of rest on. And they lunge forward and go to attack two of the infantrymen. One of them sinks straight in to him, right into his shoulder, and it kind of rolls off his armor a bit, but not without dealing a bit of damage. So one of them just seems a little bit hurt. The other one, it hits a shield, and you see it wobble for a bit. The spear looks like it's about to crack at the blade, but the elf just manages to kind of like hold on to it. That's what happens when you roll a 2. So that's the two elves. The champion just jumps in, and for a moment you can't tell where the wind stops and his arms begin. He is just a flurry of bladed death. He goes rushing into what remains of the infantry, and now you see that there are 8 infantrymen left. He attacks one of them, and he just kind of like moves his blade just like past the eyes, and just misses as the soldier kind of stumbles back, but not even letting that kind of hamper him for a second. He makes a secondary attack into another one, and you see him just like kind of come straight up with his long sword and cut basically the head at the eyes straight off and back again as a bonus action. He's going to go back to the one that he missed, and he sinks his short sword into that one's chest, but it penetrates the armor ever so slightly, but just not quite enough to cause a lot of damage. And now we have the guardsmen. So what we're going to do is going to let you guys control the guardsmen. You currently have 8 guardsmen. Actually, excuse me. You actually have 6 guardsmen who are standing around. They're kind of looking a bit confused. They have their round shields, and they're kind of like interlocking them as well. And they're just waiting on your orders.
I'm still in the stables, so you guys are going to have to issue some orders to these boys.
Yeah, it'll have to be either Benjamin Iskandar or Talrath to tell them what's what.
How many arrows are usually falling?
Sorry, say again?
Sorry, Dennis, I didn't mean to cut across you.
That's right. Go ahead.
How many arrows are falling when the arrows are coming every round, do you know? Roughly?
I mean, roughly, like, you can't really tell for sure, but it seems to be about 9, 10, maybe.
How many guards do we have?
6. Right now that are currently mustered and ready to go. Because you have one guardsman who's down, he's hurt, like real bad. And then you still have those 2 guardsmen that were guarding those 2 prisoners down in the cellar.
Okay, so I'll call to the 6. The archers!
And they nod, and they begin to start running. Like they don't like advance slowly. They begin to run towards the archers, and they making a double move. They'll actually get within about 15 feet of the archers, and they interlock their shields, and they kind of hold, making a kind of like a rudimentary shield wall, and we'll begin to advance on their next turn. And now we go back up to the top of the round. Benjamin.
Oh boy. So Benjamin is kind of limping, and he's clutching at these kind of gaping, bleeding wounds. How many are still in front of me now?
So you see now that there are, like, the infantry is like they're down quite a lot, with, you know, through fire and just general stabbery. They're hurting. So there's probably about 4 or 5 infantry left. They're trying to, like, close ranks, but they're stepping over either the charred remains or the mutilated and hacked up remains of their compatriots.
All right. Are any still seem to be like engaged in combat with any of my companions?
Many of them are trying to close ranks to organize first before they move ahead. So I mean, right now, none of them are currently engaged. One of them, any ones with the elves, like, they're all backing up now, realizing that you guys are walking badasses.
Okay, then in that case, I will go ahead and take a few steps back myself, reach out a hand, and start to kind of chant quietly while pointing at one of these remaining, and I will go ahead and cast Witch Bolt to attempt to slam into him. Oof, never mind. Roll the 3, so ranged spell attack is not going to work.
All right. So as you kind of concentrate, the wounds are just getting to you, and you know the beginning of this spell is starting to take form, but you can't seem to maintain it.
As soon as it misfires, take another step back and kind of just put myself into a defensive position with dodge, the bonus action.
Cool. Okay, so then we go down to Leah. Leah looks around, and she actually sees that you are injured. She runs up to you and, wait, let me help. And she grabs a kind of a large oak leaf and presses it to your chest, and you hear her mumble a few words in Elvish, but it's so fast and so quiet that it doesn't seem to register as Elvish. Like, you can pick up what you think are words, but it's definitely something older, something more almost primeval. The excuse me, the oaken leaf begins to shrivel and die, but you can feel almost the life force from whatever this tree was, this large ancient wooded sentinel, is now, like, feels like it's coursing through your wounds are beginning to heal up, and you get healed for 6 points of whatever damage you were dealt, and you're starting to feel like a lot better. Well,
Benjamin coughs. Benjamin coughs and spits out a little blood clot. And thank you, ma'am. And stands back up, like readying himself.
All right, and then she kind of stays beside you, very close to you, and then that turns us now to Talrath.
So forgive me, how far away did you say the archers were approximately?
The archers are about 75 feet away. They're towards the merchant guild's kind of hall. They're kind of behind there, and they're just blind firing into the whole group of you.
Okay, 75. That's unfortunate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my bonus action to cast Expeditious Retreat, which allows me to use dash this turn and every turn thereafter as a bonus action. So gauging their relative position, seeing that Iskander is standing over the noble, kind of got him in check. I'm going to, like a blur, move towards the archers, and using the extra movement that I have, try to position myself in a way to come around from behind them so they don't see me coming, if I can. I have 90 feet of movement to work with.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, judging by the map, you should be able to... I mean, it's kind of tough because from where they're standing, they have a pretty commanding view of the entire area. I mean, if you were to like run behind the inn,
yeah, what's
down
the
the road,
closest building to them, I guess?
the closest building to them is the Merchants Guild. They're standing basically behind it, behind the building, kind of in a line.
Okay, scratch that then, actually.
Okay.
Because I forgot that I also have a bow. So I don't need to get that close. I just need to move. So in fact, instead of doing that, it'll be better. So I should be able to attack. Basically, I'm going to, instead of using my action, well, no, I don't have to use my action anyway. So basically, I'm just going to try to move to where I have some cover, but get into range of 150 yards of them with my own bow.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, if you probably move about 20 feet, you'll probably have like a line of sight between the main road and like the Merchants Guild. So you can actually see a couple of them kind of kicking there. So then you can make your attack.
Make use of the extra speed. I will go ahead and cast it because it lasts for 10 minutes in case I need it. Okay. So I'll get into position, then I'll take a shot at one of the archers, if I may.
Is Expeditious Retreat, is that a bonus action?
Yes.
Cool, then make your attack.
So that will be 16 to hit.
That does hit. That does hit. Roll me some damage.
I thought for sure that was going to be too low. That'll be 8 points of damage.
Okay, you see one of them, your arrow kind of rains true, and it sinks kind of right into kind of the lower abdomen of one of them. They drop their bow and they kind of go down on one knee, kind of clutching this arrow. The bad guys now. So I do have a question for you, Iskander.
Yes.
Hold Person is a concentration spell, isn't it?
Yes.
So I will say that, and this is my fault because I should have thought of this when it happened. When you cast Burning Hands, that would have dropped.
It's not concentration. No, it's only if you cast another concentration spell.
Is it two? Okay, because I thought if it was, you have to cast.
It's only concentrating on Hold Person, but if I tried to concentrate on another spell, then it
drops
would drop.
the first one.
But I can still cast other spells as long as they're not concentration.
Okay, gotcha. I had
But
wondered
also,
about that. I always get those tripped up.
concentration check when I took damage, but I made it because of advantage when I'm blade dancing.
Yeah, no, I would assume. Yeah, I would assume that you would have. Yeah. So, as far as poor Xander is concerned, see if he makes it. Still doesn't make it. The infantry finally kind of gets their act together, closes in, and begins to press their attack once more. One of them goes after the guard, one of the elven guards, and just lunges forward with his longsword, only to be brushed off with the shield of the elf. Another one goes to attack the champion, and actually trips over one of the charred bodies on the ground and hits the ground, and he is actually prone now. Another one goes after you, Benjamin, and he, like, seeing how you're watching him come forward, you're ready for it. As he kind of swings high, you're able to duck out of the way of his attack, and then the other one is going to attack Leah. Does hit, and she kind of winces as a blade finds its mark in her side, and it kind of cuts through that like thick bark, and kind of hits her. The archers like now are going to go and press their attack against the guardsmen. So they will. I'm just going to have them roll as a whole, and you see now, like they, they're holding their shields, and all you hear is the sound of 9 arrows hitting shields, just. And the guardsmen, kind of like shouting angrily against them, and that's pretty much that. So now up is Leopold. Leopold, you are now on your horse, and given the where the stables are, you can clearly see from the paddock. You can see where where all the archers are currently.
Perfect. So just want to back up just a little bit. So as Leopold is getting up into his saddle, he says a quick prayer to the Raven Queen. He just says, "Dark Goddess, protect your servants in this time of need so that we may do your bidding." And as he does so, and he gets up on the horse, he runs his hand along the neck of his horse, and it almost seems to shimmer with these dark raven feathers that slowly fade. I'm going to cast Sanctuary on my horse as I mount up on it. So any attacks against my horse, anyone attacking it would have to make a wisdom save to attack my horse. Otherwise, they're forced to attack something else. And he is going to ride out and charge at the archers. About how far away, Mike, are they?
From you, they're about 60 feet away. So perfect. You could easily
then I
make
am going to trample one of those poor archers. So what he would see is my horse's name is Zizu, and so he would just see this large freaking horse charging at him. And let's see if I can hit. Let me see. That is 11. I think it's a +5, right? For wars. No, +6. So that's a 17 to hit.
Just a question though: is Sanctuary is an action though, isn't it not?
Bonus action.
Bonus action, cool.
Yeah. So that would be 6, 10, 12 bludgeoning damage, and the archer needs to make a save if he's still alive. DC 14 strength.
Okie dokie. He does make it.
He does. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he's like barreled backwards a little bit, like just kind of stays on his feet, but he's hurt. He's hurt real bad. He's coughing up blood. So I mean, there's not going to be too much left of him.
Awesome.
Now it's on to you, Thankmar.
As I ride out of the stables, can I see the large figure upon horseback who had been calling out to me before?
No, he's on the ground. His horse has since bolted and is probably like halfway to Eastwood at this point. I mean, he's that horse just took off because someone lit the damn horse on fire. Man, PETA's going to be all over our asses on this game. So the horse is gone. He's currently paralyzed, and so that's like all that you did hear it in the beginning of it, but that's about it.
Well, I'll ride over to him then.
Okay.
Is he alive?
So, he's held on the ground, and and as you, whatever infantry is left is being kind of like shuffled backward by the like intensity of the fighting there.
I'm going to ride over to him, dismount, put my blade to his throat, and then do an intimidation check on the last wretches that are left standing to oppose us and demand their surrender for a 14, which ain't that good. So I'm going to action surge.
I'm standing next to the body as well. Could I assist him by just clicking my fingers and summoning some fire or something?
It's all good. I'm going to use my action surge because I wouldn't rely on a 14, even as against them as it is. I'll scream my demands again after I see that they fall on deaf ears. That's better. 17.
So as you kind of look over at the 5 soldiers, the 5 infantrymen left, I'm
shouting it to all enemies to throw down their weapons.
So from where the archers are, they can't really quite see you because they have there's a couple of buildings in the way, and plus they're engaged with the infantry. As you try and boom out your voice as loud as you possibly can, I will get the archers to make a roll, but the infantry looking at you realizes the folly of their ways, and a couple of them throw down their swords. A couple of them just start running away over across the bridge, across the Hannon Bridge, in towards Sunlit, towards Sunlit Shoals. Some of them start bolting that way. The archers actually have them make. Okay. Excuse me. So they're making. I just had them make a charisma save. And a few of them are kind of looking at each other. You can't see this, but from where you can see, Leopold, a few of them are beginning to kind of look at each other and realizing that this might be a very bad idea. A few, and then some of them just kind of stand, realizing now that they're about to be kind of engaged with in close combat. A few of them kind of drop their bows and grab bucklers and short swords. So a few of them stand their ground, or the archers at least stand their ground, but the infantry, either 2 of them disperse and the other 4 just kind of throw down their weapons and surrender. All in all, though, that was pretty good.
Since he's paralyzed, I'll use my interaction to pick up this fool's weapon as well, and I'll just end my turn there.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, so then Reese stops. He looks at the 2 elven guardsmen and points towards the archers. So he once it's the guardsmen's turn, they'll begin to go off toward the archers as well as the champion. He kind of looks over at you holding the blade, Thankmar, and he kind of gives a look, kind of one of concern. And I will give you a private message, and I'll tell you, and you'll figure out why. So, Iskandar, it is your turn.
Okay, so there are definitely some guys trying to get away from here. That's unacceptable. This is well in hand, that Lord is weaponless and still paralyzed. So I'm going to move towards those who ran, whichever direction is closest to me. And I'm going to... I'm going to... cast Firebolt at the one that I can see, whichever one that is. It's going to be 14 on the die plus 6, so 20, not natural.
Yeah, you definitely hit one.
It's going to be 7 points of fire damage.
Yeah, and you see him just burn up. You see him just burn up, and he falls screaming, and it ends quickly.
I'll call after the other one that's running. Stop now, or you two will die.
Okay.
And then I'll just move as far as I can.
And the elves rush toward the approaching archers, and the guardsmen kind of hold their ground and begin to advance slowly. Leopold, that's what you notice, that they're beginning to kind of like advance. They actually end up like kind of getting in close with their shields, hit shield to shield, and they're getting ready to fight. Which brings us back up to the top of the round. Benjamin.
So you said that the building in between where we are and where the arrows is coming from, the closest one was the Merchants Guild.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Does it look like there's any sort of way that I could get up on top of the roof of the Merchants Guild? I'd like to be shooting down at these people, these archers, and try to make it a little harder for them to hit me. I'm still pretty wounded, so I want to try to get myself out of the fray, you know?
Yeah, I mean, right now you're out of the fray because whatever those bandits or those soldiers that were there, the ones that have given up, and then one of them is running because he's had absolutely enough of people, dying. All of his coworkers, buddies, all getting like fired up. Pardon.
Right. I just meant that I wanted to like help with the dispatching the last group that was shooting at us, but I don't want to run in and do it hand to hand. Wanted to put a little.
I got you.
And try to like get a good scope of the situation, see if anybody was fleeing, anything like that.
Other than the one that's fleeing, you have the archers over there. You might be able to, like, if you ran across, you could try and get onto the roof of the stables. It's like just a single story building. You can try and hop up. You're kind of hurt, so you'll have a disadvantage on a climb check.
In that case, if it looks like it's that rough of a situation to get up there, I'll just try to move over to just at least get in view of the other fight that's going on, and if they're within 120 feet when I get there, I'll fire off a firebolt. Just trying to assist my comrades.
Sure, you're over. Well, you're able to make it. Like if you did a double move,
I have a bonus action dash which I can use.
Okay, and that adds what? Another
double
20 feet. Double your movement.
30. So
perfect. 60 all right, so 60 feet. So if you did your full movement, then you'd be within 15 feet of, or at least 16 feet from the actual from the group of archers and the subsequent guardsmen as well.
Oh, I'd like to stay a good like 40 or 50 feet back. I've got a pretty decent range on my firebolt, so I'll stay back a ways, maybe try to post up next to a tree and fire a firebolt off. And I got a 15 with that.
Okay. So as you see the firebolt go, one of the archers gets hit in the rear rank. It kind of sails in between the guardsmen that are fighting with him, hits one of the archers in the back rank, and you just see his face like just erupt in flame and pain as he kind of goes down screaming, holding his face.
And that'll be all.
All right. The druid kind of looks around to everyone else and just looking to see if anyone else needs assistance. She rushes over to the guardsman who's looks like he's really hurt and is also trying to heal him. And like the arrow, like pulling the arrow out, she just kind of like runs her hands over his prone form and just kind of whispers some things and another oak leaf and just heals him up quite well. So he's coughing, and she's just holding on to him. Talrath, it is now your turn.
So, how many of the guardsmen are engaging the archers? Did you say 6?
Yeah, there are 6. There are 5 guardsmen at the moment, clashing in with the archers, and are kind of currently in like hand to hand.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close and join the ranks of the guards, and then take a swing at one of the archers.
Go for it. Make it happen. Make it a good one.
So that would be 24 to hit,
Oh yeah, that hits.
and that will be 9 points of damage.
You get one. You get one straight in the chest, and you just feel like very quick, like his body just kind of slides off your blade and kind of falls backward. So you definitely got one. That's
As
good.
I slide into the ranks, my rapier easily finds a hole in their wall of shields as it goes through and pierces his flesh.
And they have bucklers, so it's harder for them to do like a solid shield wall. And these are smaller shields, so it's not like there's not a lot. It's just basically they're in desperation mode right now. So what do we got right now? So the archers, whatever's left, they have their long swords out, and they are going to attack. One of them attacks one of the guardsmen, misses. Another one attacks one of the guardsmen, and as he swings around, he actually wildly, it is deflected, and it goes into pretty much, it goes into one of his buddies beside, and you see him, like this other guy, scream out as a blade sinks like so far into his arm that it almost cuts it off, and he just falls screaming, holding his arm. And then a third one strikes out at you, Talrath, and that will be an 15 to hit.
Misses. It means at least a 17.
Nice. So yeah, you easily dodge out of the way. These guys are not they're not like super, they're not powerful warriors like all of you are. And you see now that a couple of them are really starting to rethink their choices in life. I'm actually going to make 2. One of them just says, "Nope, I'm done here," and throws down the buckler and the long sword and just books it, like just starts running away towards Nothlon and Halak and the east. So we're down.
Can I try to cut him down as he runs?
Yeah, go for it.
Probably not with a 9.
No. So he takes off. He zips away, and you're now down to 6 individuals. So Leopold, it is now your turn.
Cool. Quick question, Mike. Is my horse's action separate from my own, or does my horse take my action?
Normally, mechanically, your horse has its own actions on your turn. Like it can dash, or it can, dodge.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's right.
That's what rules is written anyway.
Is that how you want to do it, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Right. In that case, then with my bonus action, I'm going to again beseech the Dark Goddess to give strength to my sword, and it's just going to flare with this violet smoke, and I'm just going to cast Divine Favor and see if I can kill one of these mofos. So I'll cut down on him with my long sword. Probably the one that I ran into. trampled with the hooves. Probably not going to hit though. So let me see. That's does an 11 hit? No.
No,
Okay.
it did.
Yeah. So I managed to find that buckler that I've heard so much about. But at the same time, Zizu rears back and just tries to trample him with her hooves. And that'll probably hit. That's a 16. And that's
16 hits.
13 points of bludgeoning damage as the hooves just come down on this guy.
Yeah, you just hear the sickening wet crack of a skull as it just gets like crushed by 1,800 pounds of warhorse.
Right. And Leopold would use the horse's movement to press into the remaining archers, just to try to cause some chaos for them. Not allow them to have as much of a rank.
Okay. So as you push in, they're starting to get confused now as there's only 5 of them left. They're definitely, they don't know where to kind of like pull their resources to what section. They're starting to get overwhelmed. A lot of them are starting to panic. They're starting to back up. A few of them are feeling ready to bolt, which brings us now to Thankmar.
Do I think with a movement that I can drag this paralyzed man before his own archers to attempt to rout them, or will it beyond 30 feet till I can get line of sight of these like last damned fools?
I would say that it would be, excuse me. I would say it would probably be about, you'd be able to pull him 30 feet with a strength check. If you succeed on the strength check, you're able to pull him like the full length. Because dragging a human being 30 feet is not exactly the easiest thing in the world.
Can I grab my reins for an interaction from my horse that I dismounted and wrap them around his throat and urge my horse to walk 30 feet so I don't have to even make the check and risk failing?
I like that so damn much. I want you to give yourself a point of inspiration for that too, because that's cruel and evil, and I love it.
Good. Me too. I'm going to go before them with him and use my inspiration straight off the back to demand their surrender once more with an intimidation check. Okay. It's a natural 1 and a 15, so I'll take the 15. So it's going to be 18 intimidation check.
You sure you don't want the natural 1? Because, there could be good things for that. I don't know.
Don't need any more red shirt guards dying.
There you go. Seeing his frozen prone form dragged out, beaten, and extremely bloody, the rest of the archers, whoever's left, the 5 of them, kind of realize really quickly that things are bleak. It's over. What they thought was going to be an easy task was definitely the wrong assumption to make. Many of them just throw down their weapons, raise their hands up, get on their knees. And that's pretty much it. The battle is done, and you have beaten back the very first.
For a free, I'm going to command everyone to slaughter those who surrendered now. Defenseless as they are.
I won't do that.
Anyways.
Just the guards need to.
I don't know if but you did say, Mike, that one broke and ran. Leopold is going to ride that man down, but he would yell to him to halt, throw down his weapons, and return with the others. And if he doesn't, then he'll ride him down.
He has no weapons because when he broke, he threw his weapons down and he started running. You could catch up to him, no problem, with your horse, like 5.
Well, could I ride out? Because I just, if he doesn't have a weapon, I don't want to ride him down.
Well, that's probably
like
a good thing.
But I would probably ride around him and just cut him off, and that's when I would just maybe intimidate him to go back, or his life will be forfeit here.
Okay. Yeah, you do. zip around, cut him off. He almost runs straight into the horse. He's just luckily able to stop, and he throws his hands up.
Yeah, and I would just kind of walk him back to the others. I imagine we'll have them all like kneeling. It's like one of those classic movie scenes where all the bad guys are all like kneeling together. I don't know if that's what it is when I get back there. I'll let the other guys tell me what I see when I come back with this guy.
Okay. Yeah, he's walking. Like, he's not trying to run. He's walking with you. He knows that he's beaten. And he's got his head down. He's got his hands like kind of clasped.
Oh, I got a perfect
around the back of his head.
Perfect thing, Mike. So one of the things that Leopold's going to ask him, because we got a little ways to go before we get back to the rest. He's going to ask him. It's going to probably seem really odd to this guy. He's going to say, "What did you do before all this?"
I was a soldier.
No, before that. No one is born a soldier.
They say when you become a soldier, your old life dies.
What if we?
So I guess before I was reborn into one, just worked as a carpenter, here and there, sometimes.
So there'd be like oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
So there'd be like this pause maybe for a few strides of the horse. I imagine we're not racing our way back. And he would say, "Do you believe in redemption?"
Don't know if I believe in much anymore.
Well, I do believe it'll be offered to you this day.
Yeah, we'll see
I'm
about
Leopold.
that.
What name do you go by? I could give him a name real quick if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Leon. We'll call him Leon. Like the lion.
Leon?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. So you wouldn't say anything else to him, but he'd bring him over. Hopefully I'm not seeing a massacre when I get back there, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. We shall see. So, as you go back, we are at a bit of an impasse here. So the archers are down, like all the enemy combatants who are left have been rounded up into one group. They're all in a single line on their knees, hands clasped behind their heads. The guardsmen, who, although one was hurt, luckily was saved by Leah, and they are completely at your mercy. The guards have them under control. And both Reese, the elven guardsmen, are standing there, the champion, and they're waiting to see what you're going to do.
Benjamin is going to step out in front of this line of men and address them. He says, "I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to coat this in sugar. You all did a terrible thing today. You attacked a peaceful town and a lawful settlement. You are all considered traitors to the king, and your lives are forfeit. However, we are not cruel men here, and we believe in freedom, fairness, and justice. Some of my associates don't wish to see you make it to the morning. I, on the other hand, believe that we should give you a chance. You will serve time imprisoned in a jail cell that we will apparently have to create. But we will keep you some amount of time. And those that are willing will pay off a penance. And then you will be given chances to lead fresh, clean lives. What say you?" And he'll go down the line one by one, and he'll ask for their name and an oath.
Talroth will step forward and
Sorry.
say, well, he'll start to, and then if the Scander starts to speak, then he'll shut his mouth for the moment.
He would just ask, do any of you have a craft?
Leopold would say, this one does, and he would signal Leon.
Tower
He's
up
a
with a sad,
He's a carpenter.
any craft besides murder. I'll say that as he looks them over.
I was a carpenter. You hear another voice, a woman's voice. I was a baker. And another voice. I was a fisherman.
You have a chance to practice these crafts again, but you will do so in honor of the king and of the region that you so rudely tried to overthrow. What say you? You are being given a chance. You don't have much time to decide. He kind of glances over to the others.
So it is your word then that leads us. You offer them this chance without taking our counsel.
I will not have the deaths of able-bodied people on my conscience. And we have a burgeoning town that needs workers and crafters.
And you
I
would
would say, Elvish, maybe this is not the correct place to have a crisis of leadership in front of these prisoners who believe that we are invincible.
And then I kind of lean in close and whisper, hopefully so that they can't hear me, like, we need to at least get them to agree to let us imprison them so we can decide what we're going to do. We can't tell them that we're going to be executing them and then lock them up to discuss it.
We don't have to tell them anything. They either go into the cells or we kill them. It's their choice.
I'm saying we might as well have a compliant prisoner population.
Why did you get into brigandry? Why did you decide to break the law?
There's a bit of silence over the group of them at first. And then one of them kind of pipes up. One of them that just seems a bit, not cynical, but he just kind of has that speech that his tone implies that he doesn't expect to live through this. A lot of us ran from the war. Too many of us were being killed and whatnot. We figured we could live. At first, we just wanted to live in the wood. Xander here, well, he said that we can make another living. We could live on our own. Not as part of a kingdom. Not under the crushing boot-heel of some pompous bastard baron.
I'm going to slit his throat.
All right. And just, you walk up to him, and he just gurgles, and just kind of, blood just kind of like hot blood just kind of washes down and just.
As I said, your lives are already forfeit. You were given a choice to play along, and this gentleman chose not to. You see what happens. The choice is yours.
One of them pipes up. You just answered his question. Are you going to kill us or what?
He spoke treacherous words against our leaders and against the kingdom. If you're going to live here and serve, then you'll be proud and patriotic members of the kingdom.
A good and prosperous life is a good and prosperous life, no matter who you have to kneel to get it.
Leon, the one that you were talking to, Leopold. All right, I'll join. I'd rather live myself than die. I would say yes.
I'll lean in close to Iskander now and whisper, Iskander, do you sense treachery in this man? I know you can peer into mind.
To be honest, I sense treachery in all of them, and I think that if I was kneeling, I would say whatever was necessary not to have my throat cut. But I also see here, lying in front of us, free labor.
This is why I didn't want to make this a choice between death or servitude. I wanted to try to give them more of a chance, but I think we need the labor, personally.
Let's have a trial. We can sentence them to something like 10 years of hard labor, or 5.
Perhaps we can probe them more honestly in that moment. Find out whose allegiances truly lie with us, or are malleable enough to lie with us.
When I have rested, I'll be able to read their thoughts. They seem weak mentally. I should be able to burrow in and see what they think.
And I should be able to convince a number of them to regard me hospitably.
So what say you all then?
For now, he'll be put into the prison that we have here while we decide what is going to happen to you. We'll have a trial soon and discuss openly and fairly what is to happen to your lives. You know that you have broken many laws. You have tried to do bodily harm and done it to several of us. And we are direct representatives of the king. There will be a trial and we will see what will happen.
Leopold doesn't say anything. He stands there kind of, I mean, he's seen the horrors of war, but he stands there in utter shock as Iskander slits that man's throat. He bites his tongue because what he wants to say, he says now is not the time to say, not in front of these men and women. But he stands there in silence. Though the one thing he does do is his eyes find Thankmar, and he's reading the noble. I'm wondering what he'll see.
Thankmar's looking pretty grim. His attention is shifting more and more towards the man whose length of hair he holds in his mailed glove. He's not letting go of Xander, and it doesn't seem like he cares about the peasant rabble that's now being imprisoned, integrated. He looks like he's in the mood for killing, and is probably looks quite frustrated. But he won't say anything to countermand what's being said publicly in the aftermath of the skirmish.
Right. So Leopold would wait for Benjamin to order the guards to bring the prisoners down into the I guess it's the basement is our makeshift prison where we have the others held. And if Benjamin doesn't do that, then he would yell that order to the guards. Bring them down below with the others. But if he doesn't, then he won't say anything. If he does, then he won't say anything.
Okay.
Benjamin
all right. And the guards snap to it. They pick all of them up, they bind them, and they begin to lead them, both foot manacles, far enough apart that they can walk, but not so far apart that they can run. Their arms are bound, and
I would say gags too, Mike, because I don't want them talking to each other while they're held.
Okay.
Right, guys? Yeah.
I mean,
More
we're
gags, the better.
leaving one guard down right outside the door. I'd almost like to hear what they have to say. I would like the guard to listen in, actually.
Like-
then you're trusting that the guard will hear every word that's spoken or whispered.
All right,
I
fair.
Yeah, I don't know if I have enough faith, but that's just my one vote. So
You just don't want to trust anyone, do you?
I just
Surprised
want
you guys trust each other.
I want to spy.
Mike, these mofos just attacked the shit out of us. You're looking, you're still sucking air.
Fair enough. All right. So as they gather up, Thankamar, you still have Xander's head in your hands, quite literally. He spits kind of a goblet of blood. He's bleeding profusely. It doesn't even seem like he's even going to last that long without some type of medical attention.
And then I'll ask Leah if she'll oblige me and give him some magic healing. So I need him alive.
She walks up to you, and upon asking her for that, she kind of folds her arms, and she looks at you, Thankamar, and says, "Why would I heal him?
Because
I'll waste
otherwise
my-
he'll die with his secrets untold.
You're just going to kill him anyway."
That's right. But I need you to heal him so I can speak with him before he dies. Don't you want to know which lord is behind trying to further fan the flames of war between men and elves? Don't you want to know who's arming brigands with the sole intent or purpose to bring war to? I can't remember the name of the forest again. Well, I can, but I just can't pronounce it.
Nothalan and Halak.
That's right.
Yeah, that one.
Have your people not bled enough?
And that stung her. She winces a little bit and walks over to Xander, heals him. Oh, thank goodness. His wounds seem to close a little bit, and although he's coughing and still wincing in pain, he doesn't appear to be in any danger of dying. I'm not going to lie to you. Xander had 2 hit points left.
Nice.
Like,
So I'm glad
you guys could have kicked him in the stomach, and that would have been it for him. So you definitely went through that okay. So
After she heals him, I'll nod in thanks and then call for one of the guards who's not busy interring the other prisoners. Interring? That's not the right word. Incarcerating the other prisoners to bring a bottle of wine and a corkscrew, 100 foot of rope to the barn where I'm going to drag this guy.
all right. And guardsmen oblige as much as they can. And as far as a barn, I mean, there's a stable. Stable's got a bit of a bit of a back area, a covered, kind of a covered, more like it's like a covered paddock. So, I mean, it's still all open. There's not like 4 walls. It's more like 4 large posts, just a place for the horses to kind of just, walk around without being kind of cooped up in a small area.
Since I'm using my horse and it's saddled and the like at the moment, I assume its stall is empty. So that's where I'll torture this man.
Okay. We can, depending on the absolute horrendousness of said torture, we can do that off camera as well. If you just want to tell me what you want to do or get whatever information out. But more importantly, if coughing and spitting, he just says, what do you want to know? Through broken teeth.
I want to know who he's working for, who's arming him. Know from the 2 prisoners we already interrogated that he and his band are being, what's the word? Bankrolled by another force who's trying to create further conflict, I believe, if I remember correctly from the last session. So I'll make it known to him pretty clearly that the prisoners we already have spilled their guts, or as much as he allowed them to know. But I want to know more. And the first time that he doesn't answer me, tells me a lie, tells me to go fuck myself, whatever, I'm going to punch the corkscrew into his side. And every time thereafter he does any infringement like that, I'll keep twisting it until his guts are such a knot that all he can do is scream the truth.
Okay. When you ask him about like who is funding you, he just the perfumed man. He meets
I already
with me.
know that.
Well, he meets with me out of Forgemont. We stay far enough off the road to not go into the actual city. And he tells us what to do. And we do it.
And what does he look like? Have you heard anyone else refer to him? What colors does he bear? What's the name of the place that he meets you at, and what time? All of those kinds of questions.
Now, I guess here's a bigger question: is that are you alone, Thankmar, with this individual, or is anyone else? Did anyone else go down with?
I think Leopold would go with him for a couple of reasons. One, he wants to make sure that Thankmar doesn't kill this man. And two, he wants to make sure that Thankmar properly interrogates this man to get the information that we need. So in other words, what he's going to do is every time Thankmar like beats him or something and the guy loses consciousness, Leopold's going to go over and heal him just enough to bring him back to consciousness, and then they can start asking him more questions. So he'll just kind of just keep popping him with a little lay on hands every time.
For the record, there is no fantasy Geneva Convention, so I mean, there's no real proper way to interrogate.
If there was, we would recognize it.
Right.
Also, after dropping the prisoners off in the basement, it might take him a few minutes, but Benjamin would also try to figure out where they took the guy because he wants to know what he has to say. Yeah, so he'd head over as well, but he might show up like a few tortures in.
Okay, so I don't know. He's tall and lanky, thin. Doesn't seem to be the type to want to fight. And I thought you were better than this.
Better than beating you as soon as you march into our town. Your forces are ruined and imprisoned. You are my prisoner.
You needed a wizard to help you.
Actually, we needed two.
Clearly. So it doesn't seem like I'm so weak that you needed magical help to defeat me. He said you would probably be weak. And he spits a goblet of blood on the ground.
I, for one, have never regarded magic as weakness. What led to that point of view?
Blade to blade. There's the way to fight. Not drawing on some arcane energy to defeat your foes.
The way to
or
fight
archers from the forest. I'll laugh at this pitiful fool and look to the other guys. You got what questions do you have for this man? And if he goes to interject again, I'll drive the corkscrew in further.
The way to fight is the way that wins you the battle. Too bad you didn't learn that sooner. I have nothing for this cretin.
Yeah, knowing, do I get a sense, Thankmar, that you're going to finish this dude?
No way. Why kill him?
Oh, okay. Well, do you have other questions for him?
Yeah, I don't want to take up the whole session, but basically, I want to know where their camp is we can go and plunder it.
I was actually going to do something that would hopefully aid you. So I would step forward so that he could hopefully clearly see the tabard of the Raven Queen on me, and he would just look very solemnly at this Xandor and say, "It would do you well to make peace, for soon you will be with the Raven Queen. Let your judgment on this earth has already been passed, but you still have a chance to save your eternal soul. Answer his questions, and I'll pray for you."
Spare me your prayers.
And that's once he says that, that's when I'll kick him in the face. Because
As you kick him in the face, you see kind of a small pendant on a leather thong kind of like jiggle out of his clothes, out of his armor.
Perfect. So as he's choking on his
Thankmar,
teeth,
Thankmar, Thankmar, you immediately are drawn to this silver pendant with what looks to be like a black stone in the center. Looks very, very familiar. And it is the same symbol that you saw in your dream. This three-fingered claw pointing down.
I'll grab it and pull it from his neck to examine it closer and ask him without meeting his eyes, how came you by this?
As you grab it, you hear a voice. And it is, it comes seemingly from all around and yet nowhere. It seems to permeate. It seems to drive itself like it is a warlord invading your mind, but something so powerful that it almost reels you. It almost knocks you to your feet. Good. Take it. Become stronger. And that's where we're going to end our session.
that is awesome.
Hey, let's go down the fucking bin.
Are you okay, Thankmar? Thankmar?
He's fine. Fine. Nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely nothing.
Hopefully I don't regret not being more forward and forceful about killing all those people in the aftermath of the battle and don't come to regret it. We'll see.
Well, we will.
Oh,
So-
man, I love the tension.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I'm glad I didn't grab it now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Nothing personal, Nico, but
Better you than me, pal.
that is
Better
meant for you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching our session today. We hope that you had fun. I had a lot of fun. We had a big battle, and it looks like you guys could easily take on 30 guys, 30 troops. So there you go. So next session, Thankmar gets turned into a raging demon and slaughters everyone. Probably not, but maybe, but probably not. So until then, want to thank you guys all. Let you cool cats do your outros, and then we'll end the session. So we'll start with whoever wants to start and end with whoever wants to end. All
Thanks
right.
for the session, guys. I have nothing to plug except everyone else on here who has channel and excellent content online, but yada, yada, yada. Thanks for the game, Mike. It was grouse as always. Anytime someone lets me torture an NPC is a great session. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, great session. Really enjoyed it. Wizards are dumb, real powerful, so stupid. Just killed like 6 dudes on level 3. I love it. It's the best. Yeah, great game.
Yeah, this has been a great session. It's been a hell of a lot of fun so far. The good cop, bad cop tension was fun, and it was great getting to just kind of jump in and be like, fuck it, I'm making a decision after all the internal bickering. So, and I like all the tension that it caused because we all definitely disagreed about it. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for running this, Mike. It's every session just kind of builds off the other one. It like you said, it's just a lot of tension, and I love it. You know, we can all have the same goal, but we all come at it a little differently. So I really love seeing how that kind of plays out. That interconflict is nice.
Awesome. Well, again, everyone, thank you very much for coming in and doing this this fun thing with us, and can't wait to jump into the next session of the Foundation. So, and from all of us to all of you, Wish you guys a good day, great weekend. As always, get inspired.